Good afternoon. I'm Scot Faulkner, the Executive Director of the Dreyfuss Initiative. Welcome to Happy Retreat. The rains are at least holding off a little bit, but today, even with the rains, is a great day for all of us. First, happy birthday, Charlestown, 225. And happy birthday, U.S. Constitution, 224. Today's very special for all of us because we're welcoming a new neighbor to our neighborhood, and that's the Dreyfuss Initiative and what's going to be happening here at Happy Retreat over the next not just months and years, but decades. And we have a lot of special guests today that I want to recognize, and then we'll turn things over to Richard Dreyfuss. So first, we have with us a number of our executive board, including Rick Schenkman, who's, many of you may have read his book, How Dumb Are We? And he's also the producer of the History News Network. We also have the mayors of both Charlestown and Ranson with us. We have our county clerk, Jennifer Mahan. We have a representative from the County Commission who's been involved with the acquisition of Happy Retreat, and that's Francis Morgan. And among our legislative delegation, we also have State Senator Herb Snyder. And we have both Walter Washington and Randy Hilton with the Friends of Happy Retreat. And we have quite a few of the Gavin family here who have preserved this house through their generations, and they have just done a magnificent job of their stewardship, and we're looking forward to working with them as we move into the future as well. So the Gavin family. So today, again, is very special with many special announcements and many special people. But of all the special people, one who has been a close friend to not only myself but to this country is Richard Dreyfuss. Through him, we learned the terror of Jaws. Through him, I mean, I even looked for dorsal fins in swimming pools for a year after that. From him, we learned the wonder of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. We also learned through him how to pursue our dreams in Mr. Holland's opus. And today, through him, we're going to learn about how to rekindle our love for this nation. So with that, Richard Dreyfuss.
Hi. I deal in magic and mystery as an actor, and I deal in awe. As a matter of fact, when I was a young actor, I was hired because I could do this. And they used to pay me a lot of money for that. And I want you to know, I'm not someone who knows how to take these kind of afternoons glibly. You have the ability to live with the living history of this nation. And this nation is magic and mystery. It is the finest theory of governance, the most respectful of mankind, and this property is named for the one man and the one family who inarguably is more closely identified with the values of what we aspire to as a country than anyone else. There's no one that even comes close to looking like George Washington, because George Washington it not only was our first president and the commander of the military in the War of Independence, he was a man who created himself. He was a blank sheet, and he saw what he wished to be, and he pursued it and became it, and he became the iconic ideal for generations of Americans. He is, in fact, one of the two greatest presidents in all of our history. And we have an extraordinary debt that we owe him. And the odd thing is, we are in the last hour of the last 5 minutes of the last few seconds before we might lose this country and before we might lose what Washington fought so valiantly for. And that is literally up to you. There are times when we send our children to war, and there are times when we ask them to put their shoulder to the wheel and work harder. And there are times when we say something that has never existed before in all of history. And when I found out about that, it just floored me, it astonished me. All during the time that this Constitution was being formed, all during the time that James Madison was running around creating a certain set of principles that we would all sign off on, there was never a single institute or research think tank for the values of the Enlightenment. And those values suffuse our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. And they show more respect for man that had ever been shown in any country in this world. We were always the have-nots, and the haves loved to keep their feet on our necks. And George Washington and James Madison put together an army and then put together a constitution and a preamble, a declaration, and changed human history and gave a gift to mankind that has never been equaled and will never be equaled, except for one thing, and that is, it takes work. America is hard, America is tough, and if you're not smart and tough and you don't pay attention, you can lose it, and you're losing it right now, and there's not one person here who doesn't know what I'm talking about. We need this institution. We need support that's scholastic, historic, where the best and brightest of all of us stand up and give breadth and depth to the values of common sense and reason and logic and clarity of thought, and not give way to fear and bigotry and ignorance. To be intelligent is better than stupid. And this place could be known as the intellectual capital of this country. We will survive and prevail through this century. If we don't, our grandchildren will snicker at us when we tell them that we used to have a Bill of Rights and the freedom and opportunity that is in the preamble. They will laugh at us, and they will say, how could you have abandoned us like this? Right now, there's not a sector of any paper in this country that does not tell a story of the decay of our culture because of values untaught. And we say, we can't afford to teach our young. We can't afford to educate our kids, really, in the history of the world, and we can afford to do anything we want. And what we want is to be the good guy, not just to be the bully, not just to be the guy on the block with more money than the other guy. We want to be heroes because we've been heroes, and we know what that feels like. And it feels, let me tell you, a lot better than being a shmoo. Watch how fast this country disintegrates without the common binding of the ideas of the Enlightenment. We're the only country in the history of this world that is bound only by ideas. We have no common ancestry. We have no common religion. We have the ideas of the Enlightenment, reason and logic and common sense and critical thinking and clarity of thought. And that's what has made us the wonder of the world. And we have exemplified it for everyone. And now we just talk about how wonderful we are without exemplifying anything. It's time to get back to being the best and not just talking about it.
Happy Retreat is here today, and those of you who have taken a tour of it can see how wonderful this house is for two reasons. One, the stewardship and dedication of the Gavin family, that for decades have seen their pivotal role in maintaining a historical icon. And as we move forward to the future of this site, we have the Friends of Happy Retreat to thank for their vision going back many years of how this house could become part of the community in an even better way in terms of open to the public and a center for the community, and as Richard just mentioned, a center literally for the world community that loves freedom, democracy, and open government. So with that, I want, with great pride, another good friend, I turn the microphone over to Walter Washington, who he and his colleagues have done so much relating to this wonderful property.
Thank you. Remind me never to follow an Academy Award-winning actor on a speaking program again, please. It's been 5.5 years since we began this, and it was really Mayor Smith who 5.5 years ago called a meeting in Charlestown to ask the community to step forward to see how we could acquire Happy Retreat. It's been a long struggle. We've worked very hard. We have a dedicated board and a dedicated group of volunteers who have worked all these years. We've worked with a lot of people from around the state. We were fortunate to be befriended by the Preservation Alliance of West Virginia last year, who have been very helpful to us. The City of Charlestown, the County Commission, and many people both in this community and outside the community have been helping us along the way. I want to recognize Senator Snyder for all your help. He's been a devoted fan of ours and someone who's been willing to help us in every way possible. The two people I wish that we could have here today are not Bill and Mary Gavin. When I began this, I didn't know them very well, but over the years that I worked with them, I got to know them as friends and always appreciated the moment that I walked in the door and saw them. And I'd like to now ask Sally Jackson, excuse me. I've known her for so long, I still think of her as Gavin. Sally Jackson to say a few words on behalf of the family.
It's raining, I'll keep it really short. I will never forget the spring in 1968, and I came up this driveway the first time with my parents, and we saw this house. They fell in love with it. There were 8 of us who moved into the house this summer, from my sister starting college to my little brother John, who was a toddler. And from 1968 till they passed away last year, this has been our home. It means so much to us. All of our Christmases, our Thanksgivings, our birthdays. My niece was married in the front yard. My daughter was married in the backyard. This has been our home. And I really want to thank, first of all, Mr. Dreyfuss for what he's trying to do to preserve the house, but Walter Washington's the one I know, and if anybody personifies the grace and integrity of the Washington name, it is Walter. And Walter, until that day comes when the deed passes to you, I want you to have this key to the front door of our house to keep until that day comes. Thank you.
Again, with the rain coming, we will keep remarks short. That really concludes our remarks for today. We are hoping to have many more events like this as we make other announcements, including the final acquisition of the property and our plans as we move forward, and the actual ribbon cutting and opening as we begin to utilize this house in many different ways. And there are many groups that have been involved with us, both in the community as well as nationally. And if people would like to get on our mailing list regarding future announcements, please go over to our table and sign up with your email. We also have copies of the U.S. Constitution if you'd like to take them home, because today again is Constitution Day. And otherwise, thank you all for coming out. We were hoping, the weatherman was hoping to be better to us, but thank you all for coming out. Thank you, Richard. Thank everybody, and have a great day. Go back and enjoy the Heritage Day Festival.